Welcome to 100 Live, folks. This is your host, Dan Guthrie. We also have Misty on the line.
Hello.
Hey, Misty.
Hi.
That song you guys heard is from Stu Moss. He will be performing at Frontier Paracon. So if you guys want to hear more of his music, you're definitely going to have to come out and check him out. So what'd you think about that song, Misty?
Cute song.
And it's hard to believe that all that music and the voices is all done by one person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh.
That was cute.
I thought so. Before we bring our guest on tonight, you started a deal on Facebook called Cemetery Girl.
Yeah.
Want to talk a little bit about that?
Los Angeles Cemetery Girl. It's a page that I started because in my spare time, I roam around to different cemeteries in LA. So, and I started photographing them. Actually, I've been photographing them since I was a kid. So I wanted to share the photographs with people, so I started a Facebook page for it.
Oh, cool. You still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So what made you want to bring that, to start that Facebook group?
Well, I started the page because I figured, being on Facebook, I noticed there's people that had similar interest as far as not just the paranormal, the beauty of the cemeteries. There's so many cemeteries that the older cemeteries with the big headstones, how they used to put up, the big monuments for people. Now you just have pretty much the little headstone. But the older ones are just gorgeous.
Yes, yeah, they are. I have to agree with you there.
So like I said, when I was a kid, we used to spend the whole day in the cemetery. We had so many relatives buried in one cemetery, which is Calvary Cemetery in East Los Angeles. And we would spend the whole day there, and we pretty much, growing up, thought of it more as a park than a cemetery.
Right.
We would have lunch there and just roam around. So the cemetery became a very comfortable place for me.
Well, that's good. I know some of the cemeteries that are around this area, you don't get that kind of feeling because a lot of it still feels like you're in a battleground from the Native Americans and Calvary. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of that going on around this part. So.
Well, there are some here that there's a couple that I've been to that you do get not a very good feeling, but for the most part, it's a more comfortable feeling. I went to one up north. I actually went because I wanted to get a picture of the gravesite of the Black Dahlia. I don't know if are you familiar with her, with the story?
Yes.
Well, I had to go do that because my grandmother was a friend of hers, and I had promised my grandmother if I ever got up to the Bay Area, I would leave flowers for her. So that park, those people, the locals use it, or that cemetery, I'm sorry, the locals use it as a park. You have people jogging, you have people walking their dogs. There's even a little stand there, for the doggy waste. Then that is a beautiful cemetery, a Mountain View cemetery.
Wow. For those folks that are out there that if you've been keeping up on Facebook and stuff, I had made an announcement last Wednesday that my wife went into the hospital. Just as an update, she's doing better. She's home now. We nearly lost her, but she's a strong woman. She got back on her feet, and she's doing good now. She's home and doing bed rest for the next week, so I have to keep an eye on her. But all the prayers that were sent out for her, thank you very much. It really helped. So there's a question in the chat room. Who's the co-host? Well, I have Misty. So. See, well, you'll get known before you know it, Misty.
Oh no.
Well, we have a guest tonight that I'm sure some of you will know. Is Jesus from the STU. He's more or less the background person that does his all the technical work and everything. But I'll let him talk about it. So, Jesus, if you would go ahead and turn your volume down so we don't get that feedback. There you go. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
We're doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that you had me on the show, and I love the work that you do and the investigations you broadcast. I've seen some of them, and I'm really glad that you invited me here today.
Well, I'm glad you came on at the last minute. I just happened to see you there, and I was putting Misty on the spot. I was going to have her do a whole hour by herself for being late last week. So
No.
I couldn't do that.
Bad internet connection. I'm sorry.
I know. So, tell us, you're on the STU. I mean, you work behind the scenes. You know. So what's
I'm the cameraman and broadcaster for the show. So I'm the man that pretty much starts up the broadcast and checks if everybody's getting the broadcast without any problems. I usually check on the chat room to see if they're having any issues, and of course when the show starts, I'm the one that plays the startup videos, the intro skits, and then when we go live, I'm the one that cues Scott and everybody that we're going live, and so they know when to start. They're part of the show. So I'm the one that runs the camera. So whenever you see camera movement or camera switching, that's me. That's what I do. I'm the one that puts them on camera, and the broadcast. Any problems with the broadcast, I'm the one that has to fix them. And of course, I'm also sometimes in the skits as well. And being part of the STU is that you have to be in the skits. That's one of Scott's rules, that when you're on the STU, you have to be on the STU, even if you're the background guy or just the technical guy. So you've probably seen me on some of the skits. Probably my most popular one was the Baywatch one, where they had me running down the sidewalk in nothing but red shorts, and then playing it in slow motion, making it look like I'm in the beach in Los Angeles somewhere, when it looks like an old neighborhood in Fresno.
Yeah, they really do some funny stuff. I've seen some of the skits. You know, I think my favorite skit that I've seen so far from the STU is when, where it was, I guess it was the Possession, where they were sitting there interviewing I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. The guy come out behind him, he goes, "Smell my finger," and
oh yeah, the attachment. That's one of the skits that was filmed at the Queen Mary, and and the guy that comes up from behind, that is Matt Goldman, one of our STU members that comes on the show once in a while, and he's probably one of the most amazing characters we have ever met. And when we first met him, and just the personality that he had, and it was perfect for the show. And I think we met him when we went to the Hornet in April last year. That was actually the first time I met him, and him and Jody came over to the Jody, my girlfriend from Texas, and they came over to the Hornet, and I met Matt that day, and he's just an incredible character. And so he's been on several skits, and we love having him as part of the show.
That's good. I mean, he was on the show here for a reading with Kaden Lee when we had her on here when she was doing. He was our last guest to get read, and he was really interesting to listen to then.
Yeah.
Yeah, he the one thing about him is that he is very harsh sometimes, because he's not always 100% lovey-dovey, but he has sometimes a harsh personality, but he knows how to handle himself, and when he's on front of the camera, he is just an amazing character. He just has so much fun with it, and that's one of the things we really liked about him. And hopefully we'll get him back on the show soon. He's just really busy with his life right now, and hopefully he'll be back on the show.
That's good.
But yeah,
that's good. So, If there's anybody out there in the chat room that has a question for Jesus, please don't hesitate to ask. We will relay it to him and hopefully answer it for you. So. Now, I'm really hoping that you'll make it up with Scott for the stew, because up here it's going to be, it's a different world in this part of the country, and I was hoping maybe we can get, us to get into 6th Street Massacre to do the stew there, where you guys can actually use the, all the Halloween setups and stuff, the dolls and whatever else you wanted, to kind of make it a little more freaky.
Oh yeah, Scott will either make it more freaky, or you'll just turn it into something really, really exciting, because that's what Scott does. He loves having fun with everything.
Yes. Now, if anybody is keeping up with Frontier Paracon, we have a couple of new people that have signed on, and we had to add them to our guest list. We have Rosalind Bowen from Sci-Fi Ghost Hunters Academy, and we also added on just yesterday Bruce Tango from Sci-Fi Ghost Hunters.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm glad that you got some good names on there, along with Scott and everybody from this too.
Yeah,
nice.
Scott was the first one. I said, "Come on." So, but we're also in the talks with one more person that may be joining us. I have to wait for him to sign the dotted line, but that would be Dakota Lawrence. He won't actually be a speaker there, but he's going to do his own gallery. So if somebody wants to get a special reading from him, he does charge a little bit, but he'll be charging. I think he said like $25. But it's a more thorough reading and a little more intense than what you would get sitting at a table or something.
Mm.
So, but we'll see. He's got a lot of TV shows in the makes right now, and so he's a new up and coming psychic. So we'll see.
Mm.
That's exciting. I can't wait to meet him if I'm able to go. I'm not 100% sure right now, but I'm hoping to go over there to Frontier Paracon and meet you and hang out with everybody over there.
Yeah, because we got a lot of people, and if no one really knows who's coming, we have Don Shy, which is the para-publicist. We have Shannon and Jeff Sylvia coming from Paranormal State and Ghost Hunters Academy, the first season. Then we have Paranormal State, the new class. We have all 6 members coming. Then we have Danny Corley. If you don't know who Danny Corley is, she is Miss South Carolina, USA of 1995. She is also a cast member of the Supernatural Explorations. And then we have Leah Scott Price. She is a horror and sci-fi novelist and producer of films. She basically writes her own comic books and turns them into movies. And then, of course, we have your buddy Scott Grinwall coming. And then we have Jackie Carpenter. She debating on if she's going to speak or she's going to just run a booth. Then we have Vera Martinez from Sci-Fi Ghost Hunters Academy. And then, of course, Rosalind Bowen and Tango. And then we have Stu Moss, which will be our actual live entertainment throughout the deal. And then, of course, yours truly, myself. I'll also kick it all off.
All right, Dan.
So, it's a pretty good lineup.
Great event.
Yeah, it looks like a big lineup. I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
It sounds like it's going to be good.
And there's a lot of other surprise guests that are going to be coming, and we don't know. I don't know exactly what they are, but from what I'm hearing, there's quite a few other TV personalities that are also coming.
Well, we got a question in the chat room. What events will I be attending this year? Well, in next month I will be going to the St. Mary's Paracon in Virginia City. It will be my first time in Virginia City. I'm pretty excited about that.
Cool.
So I'll be investigating with a couple members of the STU, and Jim Shields will be there from the STU, and my girlfriend Jody and myself. So we'll be out there. We'll be filming stuff for the show as well.
That's great. That's great.
And of course, STUCon coming up in August. We're not absolutely sure where it's going to be held, but if we can't get any certain venue, we will hold it in where we held it last year, which is the Barn Theater in Porterville. But we're working on another venue right now, so that will be exciting, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just like it was last year. It's all about the fun, and of course with the other stuff, investigating and speakers and everything. And you yourself, Dan, might actually be at STUCon this year.
Definitely. I've already been invited and I've already accepted, so I'm looking forward to it. As Scott told me, the date for that was August 5th.
That's good. You're going to make it out there for it.
Yes, I'm looking really forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and it's going to be great to have you come over and have fun with us on the stew. And of course, I can't wait to see you on one of our skits that we film over there.
That'd be a lot of fun.
We always have a lot of fun filming skits wherever we go. And, Scott, when we go out somewhere, he's always like, bring the camera and let's film and let's make something out of something. And that's what the fun part about doing the show. I mean, the Terminator movie, which was filmed by my brother, it was something that we planned from the beginning of the stew. When the stew first started, it was like, well, we're going to make a movie called Psychic Tiff and the Terminator, and another movie called Planet of the Stew. These are the two movies that we're going to make somehow. And when the show started, and we weren't absolutely sure if we can actually pull it off. It's just one of those things we throw out there and say we're just gonna do it, and just watch out for it. And when George got a movie camera, he decided to jump on it and say, hey, okay, let's film this Terminator movie, this Psychic Tiff and the Terminator movie. And Scott was very excited to see that we actually had someone that would be able to film and put it together. And that's probably one of the most exciting things we've done on the show. And myself, I'm in there as well. I was one of the soldiers that was killed at the beginning of the show. But it was so much fun to film. And of course, we had Rex Williams as a guest, and Scott played the Terminator, and he did the part so well. I mean, this is a guy that likes to screw around a lot, but when he's serious about doing a part on anything like a movie, he does it so well. And he really pulled it off on the Terminator movie.
So both you and your brother are part of the stew?
Yeah, my brother George, me and him are the technical side of the show. We're behind the camera. We're running the cameras. We're running the broadcast. We're running the audio. But his last year, he was the broadcaster and the sound control. But it was beginning to become too much for him to do both the broadcast and the sound. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of problems last season. And this year we decided, okay, we're gonna let George just do the sound, and I'll take care of the broadcast and the cameras, and that's how we did it on Friday at the first show with that setup, and it worked very well. So we're gonna stay with that setup. So he's gonna continue being the sound on the show, and sometimes he'll be on camera because Scott really likes to put him on camera, even though George does not really like to be on camera that much. But Scott will just put him on camera. Like, hey, you have to be on camera.
See, that's why he's doing it, because he knows he doesn't like it. So it just makes it more fun. I do the same thing with my cadets. I swear. I mean, if I see one that it doesn't like to be on camera, I'm going to zoom in on that person.
Oh yeah, I mean, last year we had my cousin from they live around the area, and they brought a friend, and they wanted to be on stew. But their friend did not want to be on camera, but he wanted to come in and check it out. And Scott told him, hey, if you're going to be here, you're going to be on camera. And he wasn't into it. He says, I don't want to be in front of the camera. He's very shy and stuff. But once we started doing the skits, not only did he go in front of the camera, but he played his part so well, and he had so much fun. He's the one that played Dave Tango's cousin, Gabe Tango. He was on that skit that we did, John and Kate plus Paranormal State. That skit that we did with my cousins who played John and Kate, and they brought their friend over. He played Gabe Tango on there, and he had a hell of a good time there. But when he first came in, he was like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't like it. So that's one thing about the show. Like, we're here to have fun, but you have to be on camera if you're going to be anywhere in the studio. You have to be in front of the camera. So Scott likes to do that to George, and he likes to do that to me. Even though I'm the one that actually controls the camera, I have to point it at myself. So,
well, speak of the devil, I just saw him pop into the chat room too.
yeah, that's my good friend Scott, who's just an amazing man, and I can't speak any more well about him. He is pretty much the best man that I ever met, who does an incredible show. He's just an amazing person. When I first met him, it was on a tour that I did at the Wolf Manor back in 2008. And he was just a tour guide there. And before that, I was watching him on the Wolf Manor show that he was doing with another group. And another group was his technical team during the show. And I would just watch this show, and I just was amazed at how these guys were able to pull off such a interesting little show using just a wireless connection, and I was just like, I want to go to that place. I want to check it out. And me and my team decided to do a tour there. So we paid our way in there, and Scott, Terry, and Todd, they were very friendly and showed us everything. They were very helpful. I mean, the first time we met them, they were just an incredible group. And Scott, he not only liked us when we first came there, but he wanted us to come back. And he said, hey, okay, we'll come back. And we went back there a month later, and we had a great time. And from then on, it was just like, hey, we need to hang out more. And from then on, it was just turned this into this incredible relationship with this guy, and from there on, for me, it's been a big boost. I've been able to work on the Wolf Manor show with him, and then when he decided to do the STU, he wanted to bring me on as well, and I said, okay, I'll help you out, and that's where we are today. We're just an incredible team, and Scott is just an incredible person.
Yes,
I'm just glad to be his friend.
I remember when I first met him, it was actually when he was doing the Wolf too, and he was doing a show there. He was talking about EVPs and how scary some of the ones were there, and then I decided to myself, I talked to myself and said, well, hey, he needs to hear some of this crap that's going in my house and see what he thinks about it. And it, according to him, it scared the crap out of him. And
wow.
And I told them at the time that these are not boosted or tampered with in any way. This is in raw form at normal volume. And it kind of blew them away. I don't know if anybody ever remembers those. You might remember them, Jesus. I mean, that was a long time ago, though, but there was some of them that was pretty wicked, and especially when I had a couple in there that was speaking in Latin. So.
Yeah, I mean, my experiences with the paranormal go back years. I mean, when I was little, I used to hear ghost stories from my parents, and they talked about this house that they lived in when I was born. And mostly what I hear is objects moving and people seeing apparitions. And there was a story about one of my aunts who woke up and she literally saw the devil in her room. I mean, literally, she said, the devil's in my room, and she just screamed, went out of her room screaming, scared the crap out of everybody in the house, and everybody saw her. And there was like, I think maybe 5, 6 people living in that house, and they all witnessed this, my aunt, totally just, turning into this, big, incredible and scared person. I mean, you cannot even describe how scared she was. I mean, they told me several times in Spanish how scared she was, but it's hard to explain. I mean, she literally said she saw the devil in her room, and she just screamed when she left. And my dad had reported seeing objects move. He said one time he woke up and there was this man with a knife in his hand getting ready to stab him, and he got up and this man just disappeared. So this is the kind of stuff I grew up with, but of course I dismissed it because I thought, it's probably psychological. I don't know. I have to see it for myself. And probably around 11 years ago, I was living in this house, and I got my chance to experience this because I was living in a house that was built on an old farmhouse property, and this house was what I believe built on the site of where the actual farmhouse was. So we were living on lived-in property, even though it was new. And what I would experience, especially when I was alone in that house, I would experience the doors being kicked when there was nobody on the other side. One time I was taking a shower, and I was drying myself up, and somebody kicked the door, and I thought it was my brother, but I knew he was at work. I just opened the door, looked all over the house, there was nobody, so the door just got kicked by absolutely nothing. So this wasn't, the house adjusting itself or wood, adjusting to temperature or air pressure. This was a kick. This was, you can just hear it so loud. And then I had another incident where I was actually pouring myself a glass of milk, and I placed it on the counter, and right when I was getting ready to pour it in the glass moved itself over 4 inches to the left. And this was I was not even touching it or anything. This was the glass just moving on its own.
Oh wow!
I mean, and probably the most profound of all my experiences was one night when I was sleeping in my room, and I woke up and I heard this, I call it pulsating noise. It's like click, 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 and it was coming from all over. And I was just like looking around, what the hell's making that noise? And I looked up, and there was this man in this big black robe walking next to my bed, and he walked towards the bathroom, and the bathroom is enclosed, so there's no way out if you go into it. So I got up and I went after him, and he was gone. And so this guy just disappeared. I mean, that was the most incredible experience I had with paranormal. I mean, seeing them with your own eyes, you have to believe. And it just kept happening to me. And sometimes when I would hear that noise afterwards, I would just like, I don't want to see it. I'm going to keep my eyes closed. So after that, every time this would happen to me, I would keep my eyes closed. I don't want to see them. It was my way of saying, you know what, I know you're there, but I don't want to see you. I want to live my life.
Do you feel that way to this day?
To this day, it's more about fascination because I already got my answers. I already know that they're there.
Right.
But I'm fascinated at the fact that the world is just barely getting to know this. I mean, during the time when this was happening to me, there was no ghost hunters. There was no and all we had was a little show called Sightings, and every once in a while they'll do a ghost story, an investigation, but it was very hard to find anything on paranormal on TV. You would probably have to go on the internet, you find a couple things, but when Ghost Hunters came on, and I just got hooked on that show because I was finally seeing that there was a whole lot of people that were dealing with this. So from there on, it was turned into fascination because I already knew that it was real. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. I listened to the ghost stories when I was young. I mean, this is absolutely real. So I decided to get into it. I spent a couple years hanging out online with people in the TAPS website. They have a forum there, which is sort of like a Facebook for TAPS. But this was back when Facebook was still tiny. But I was there, and I met a whole lot of incredible people there, and they were sharing their stories, and I was sharing my stories. And from there, I learned the majority of my knowledge about the paranormal, and from then on, I was ready to go out investigating. And I decided to get together with my cousins, my brother, and I said, hey, let's form a group, and we started Martinez Paranormal. And from there, we just went out to investigate and start checking places out, and that's how my interest in the paranormal has evolved. And now it's with working with Scott and doing a lot of video production. It has turned into sort of like a semi-career. You can't really call it career because I'm not fully into it yet, but along with making a video documentaries that were put on YouTube, I also was able to do a TV show for the local station. When Todd Wolf was asked to do a local 1-hour TV show for the Wolf Manor, he asked me to be the editor and producer. And from there, I was able to make a couple episodes that aired on local TV that showed investigations and history of the Wolf Manor, and that was really exciting for me. So then that's pretty much how I got into the paranormal, and I'm glad that I joined this community because there's a lot of great people in this community.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's two questions in the chat room I meant to get to. One of them, I will go with this one first. In the Wolf Manor, what is the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
Well, there was actually 2 occasions where I was actually frightened because I was in there by myself. The one thing about the Wolf Manor is that when you're in there by yourself, you're going to experience some really good paranormal activity because the ghosts that they love to really show themselves when there's just either 1 or 2 people, but mostly when there's 1. And there was one occasion when we were getting ready to film the Wolf Manor, one of the Wolf Manor episodes for the internet, and Scott, Terry, and Todd were outside in the back preparing for the campfire scene, and I was up on the 2nd floor setting up a static camera, and I was in there by myself because nobody else is allowed in the property when we're in there, and Scott, Terry, and Todd were clearly visible in the back because I had the door open, one of the little swing open doors and one of the rooms in the back, and I saw them in the back. And while I was setting up the camera, I heard this movement coming from the hallway, the stairway that leads up to the 2nd floor, and I just thought nothing of it. I thought it was maybe an animal or came in or something, but then this loud scream, this loud woman screaming, startled the crap out of me. I mean, it was loud and it was so real, and I just nearly jumped when I heard that. It was like something screamed at me, and I looked over and I saw who's there. I was like, it can't be any of the guys because the voice of this scream was so clearly female and so high pitched that none of the guys can actually duplicate this voice. So I knew it wasn't them, and I saw them in the back. So I went down, looked over, there was nobody. But this was such a loud scream, and if I would guess right, it would probably be the sound of an old elderly woman who was just frightened out of her mind. And there has been a lot of stories coming out of the Wolf Manor from people who used to work there about an old elderly woman that would scream every once in a while when she was actually alive as a patient. So I'm guessing this was that patient in spirit screaming at me, and that was really scary. And then another incident was when I was filming back roll footage of infrared in Mary's room for the TV show, because I was working on the TV show, and I needed some footage to add to one of the scenes, so I decided to go in there by myself. Scott was outside on the cell phone talking, and I told him, hey, I got it, I'll just go in there, get a few shots, and that'll be it. And this one was actually caught when I was filming, because I was actually recording when this happened, but I was in Mary's room, and when I was shooting the doorway that Todd would describe was where this black mass, or this black shadow person was standing when he was working back then. That's probably one of his most scary experiences for him. And I went there to get a shot of the doorway so I can put that on the show. And as I was doing that, there was this large piece of tile because the Mary's bathroom, there's tile all over. The bathtub is full of tile. The toilet itself was broken down when they started working on the hotel project, and this big piece of towel was just thrown to the wall next to Mary's bed. It was just like thrown. I mean, this wasn't anything falling. This was something being thrown.
Wow.
And it just startled me, and I just turned the camera back towards it, and of course there was nobody. And that's another experience that really startled me. And actually I do have it on Facebook. I'll put it on my Facebook page, that experience, but you can actually see me, shooting towards the doorway, trying to get that shot, and then you hear this big piece of towel be thrown into the wall, and then you may see me getting startled. But that's probably one of the scarier experiences I had there. That and the woman screaming.
Wow.
So, you see a lot of stuff on TV, especially from Ghost Adventures, of what happens in that place. This place is really haunted.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely haunted.
That's
I experienced enough things there already.
That's why I'm looking forward to going in there with you guys, just to check it out myself. Because as you've seen on my cases, when the cameras are rolling, I'm pretty quick on picking up on who's there, how many, what's their names, what sex, what error, that kind of stuff. Yeah, real quick. So to me, it's going to be interesting just to get out of this area, go to somewhere completely new, just to see what's there for myself, and not just from the camera view. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some crazy stuff when you operate that camera in there, probably more than others do. But for me, I would like to get in there personally to also experience what's going on.
Oh yeah, even though it's scary to experience that stuff, for me it's a thrill ride, because you cannot duplicate this anywhere.
Right.
You can go to those scary house on Halloween, and they'll have people who are actors that'll jump in front of you, and that's sometimes scary if you don't see it coming. But to experience this stuff and go into a place that really is haunted, and the spirits are really active, and they're there, and they know you're there, and they recognize you sometimes. I know that my brother, when he goes there, he gets recognized by these spirits because they seem to show themselves to him more than me. And my brother, he's really scared to go in there. If I asked him to go in there, he says, I'm not going in there alone. He will never step inside the Wolf Manor by himself because he's already seen a lot of stuff. There was one time we were also doing filming for the TV show, and I brought him along. And we were walking around the second floor, and when we passed by what we call Emily's room, he looked into the doorway and he saw this man with his own eyes, clear as day, this bald man with a trench coat. And he was giving him this mean look. This look as if, hey, what are you doing here? That's what he described to me as that. And he was so frightened that he just said, let's go downstairs. Let's go outside. And I'm like, okay, let's go out. He stepped right out of the door and he was like, I'm not going back in there.
Oh, wow.
And he was my assistant that day when we were filming, because he's usually my cameraman, and I guide him, say, hey, film this, film that. And that day he was like, I'm not going in there.
Wow.
And so this is, I love that place.
Now, there's a question. What is your dream location to investigate?
I think more than anything else is the Goldfield Hotel. And I know that it's very difficult to get in there, but that would be my dream place to go. And I fell in love with that place when I watched it on the Ghost Adventures documentary, because I think the one thing I get from that place is that this is where the real stuff happens, and it happens so often that it even beats the Wolf Manor. The one place that I think would beat the Wolf Manor will be the Goldfield Hotel.
What is your favorite place to go to? What's your favorite place to investigate?
Well, besides the Wolf Manor, I would say there was this place here called the Weldon House, which is a local lady who rents it, and she is a regular investigator of her own house.
Of her own house?
Yeah, she rents it. She doesn't own the house, but she rents it. But she investigates her own place. We captured some incredible evidence there. We captured an EVP. Probably the best EVP we ever captured was in that place where it sounded like a woman cackling, sort of like a very high-pitched scream, but with very strong voice. And this is the kind of thing where it's not just a Class A EVP. It sounds like an actual person. I mean, it's even louder than our own voices.
Oh, wow.
And every time I go there, you get that feeling. There's energy in that place, and we did our live show there. Our first and only live show with my group, we did it in this place, and we had a great time there, and some unusual stuff happened, and Joy, who is the lady that invited us, she's a nice person, and we like to go there every once in a while to investigate.
Have you, see, I'm in Southern California. I know you guys are in Northern California, correct?
Yeah, sort of like Central California. Yeah, and then Northern California would be like Modesto up to north, but we have, that's what we call our area, Central California.
Have you ever done any investigation down in Southern California?
Not yet, but I did visit the Whaley House in San Diego once, but I just as a guest, not really to investigate. And I did capture in one EVP when I was just hitting the recorder, and it was really a freaky EVP.
Oh, really?
And it sounded like, because we were there as guests, because, we can't really investigate the Whaley House because it's closed to any investigation unless you have special permission. And we were up in the theater room. I think it's on the second floor.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
And we were just sitting there reading the brochures, and I just had the recorder running, and you hear people talking, you hear, nothing unusual was heard. I mean, we were just there along with a bunch of other guests, and that night when we went to our hotel room, I was just going through the recordings. I was just going through all of it, and didn't seem to be anything on there. And then there was that one part when we were in the theater room. There was this loud moan. I mean, it was like, it just came out of the recorder, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if this was actually from an actual person, we would have been like, who is that? What is that? Who's moaning like that? But this came out of the recorder, out of that place. And I really would love to investigate that place in full with my group, and we'll probably do that someday. But I think Scott and myself and some members of the STU will be doing the Linda Vista Hospital in a couple months. So I'll be excited to do that. We're actually going to do an overnight lockdown, Ghost Adventure style lockdown. So we're going to do that. I'm going to film that.
That's a great place. That one I've been to.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've never been there, so.
Misty, I think you got your sound turned on over there. You need to turn it down.
I'm completely down.
Okay, well, somebody's getting feedback.
Strange.
That's all right. Jesus, out of all the ghost hunting tools that are out there, do you have a favorite one you like to use?
Well, the one thing about these devices is that it really depends on how well the device is wired. I mean, the K2 has worked very well, but there's some of them have such bad wiring that any little movement will cause the meter to give you false readings. So, what I really like to use more than anything is the cheapo Sony digital voice recorder. I think is my favorite because a lot of people like to use expensive, Zooms or any of these high quality recorders. But the thing about that is that they're so well shielded to block out interference and radio frequency interference that it is also blocking out the spirit voices. So I don't really like using those. I really like to use the cheapo Sony recorders because that's the best way to really capture spirit voices. Because remember, the spirits they can't speak that well.
Right.
They don't have that much energy. That's why when you play back, they sound very faint. And so you need to give them sort of like a chance to be able to speak without giving them needing so much energy. So the old cheapo Sony recorders are my favorite.
That's good. That's good. Let's see. Has Scott ever made you have to investigate naked? He's always asking my other guests.
Oh no.
Well, we did that skit called Naked Paranormal with I did that with Alex and Matt, and that skit was kind of fun. But we just had our shirts off, and it was just a fun thing that we did on the STU. But that's the only time I actually was anything investigating with my shirt off. Was that skit? That was pretty fun.
I bet I had to say that because just seeing Scott in the chat room, and he's asked that even with me from time to time, and even my other guests when he's in the chat room. So I had to throw that one at you.
Oh yeah, I understand. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually go on an investigation with either just our underwear or just a pair of tight underwear or whatever he wants to do.
Well, the funny thing is, I know some from when I used to live in California. I know some places where there were nudist colonists that actually had haunted buildings. So that might be something to look into.
Yeah, if we ever go to one of those places, it's the when in Rome thing. Like if you're gonna go investigate a nudist colony, you sort of have to join in their customs. So we'll see if that is ever going to happen.
Oh, I hope you guys don't videotape that.
Well, I would have to do a lot of blurring on that video. Definitely.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the one place I know of that's definitely haunted is called the Red, White, and Blue Beach, which is actually about 10 miles north of Santa Cruz, California.
The Red, White, and Blue Beach. Okay, so
that's something to keep in mind.
Hear that, Scott? We're going there.
The next episode of the STU.
Yeah, that should be our STUCon site right there.
Well, if anything, at least now you'll have a skit to do.
There you go.
You can go do a haunted nude beach.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, yeah.
A lot of editing.
Yeah, I'll be the one editing, so I get to see everything. So.
Well, unless you go live, and then you don't really have much of a choice.
If we go live, then we'll have a really good show, no matter if you're into paranormal or not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh wow.
We have a question in the chat room. Everybody wants to know how your wife is doing.
Yes, I just saw that. I was trying to reply to that. She's doing better. She's in bed right now resting, but after a long ordeal and almost losing her, Lord, let her stay longer. And with all the prayers out there, I want to say thank you. But she's doing good. Like I said, she's finally home. She came home yesterday, and now she's resting. So, but she's kind of grounded to either the couch or the bed, which is kind of hard to keep her, to those 2 points because she wants to go around and clean house and stuff, and I got to get on her butt. So, but she's doing good. Thank you.
She needs rest.
Yes, lots of it.
Well, I'm glad she's doing well. I'm very glad. I got to talk to her before the show, and I'm glad that she was able to come on and say hi to me and Misty, and I'm glad that she's doing well.
The next question I just read in the chat room from Cookie is saying what happened to her. Well, she was kind of a bad girl and did not take her diabetic medicine, and her sugar shot up to a little bit over 500. And she ended up having a couple of seizures, and at one point for about 6 hours she was half paralyzed. And,
oh no!
She was completely out of it for a good 24 hours before she came to, and everything was fine. Her left side was back to normal. She was fighting the nurses from getting her fingers stuck, and so ready to walk up and down the halls. And at one point, I heard when I wasn't there, when I hadn't gone home to freshen up and check on her animals, she actually pulled out all of her cables and IV, and she started streaking it. So,
oh wow!
But she has no recollection of it. She does not remember it. And when the nurse told her, it kind of pretty well embarrassed her. So, but she is doing good. So, but every now and then, when I see her around the house, I say, "Hey, streaker," So. But she's doing good. She's doing good. So, but I still got to watch her because I was kind of worried yesterday. Her sugar had shot back up, but I don't know if it's because of the medication that she's on now or what. But she's still a little high on her sugar, but not like it was then that night. So she's okay.
Glad she came out of it okay.
Yes, me too. But but overall, like I said, she's doing good, and her spirits are there. I told her no more stress, no more anything. So yeah, not for 1 week. She's got to kind of behave herself.
Mm. Yes. So you're all set for your for the FrontierCon, huh?
I'm ready for it. I'm ready. I'm ready to bring in the people. I keep hearing more and more people that are coming just to come. Our lineup is got a little bit bigger than I was expecting, but just at certain points you just can't turn it down. And, for the people that want to come and what they offer to come, you've got to grab it.
It sounds like a really good lineup.
I think so. For those people that, let me bring up my little list here real fast. We're not really pushing the time on the show, but I don't want to push it too late either.
Yeah.
All right. For those people that don't know Frontier Paracon, it's going to be in Amarillo, Texas, June 11th. We have a huge lineup. We have Don Shy, the para-publicist. We have Shannon and Jeff Sylvia. Shannon has been seen on Paranormal State. She was also an investigator of Ghost Hunters International the first season, or at least part of it. Then we have Paranormal State, the new class. We have their full crew coming also. Then we also have Danny Corley, which is Miss South Carolina, USA of 1995. She's also a cast member of Supernatural Exploration. Then we have Leah Scott Price. She is a horror sci-fi novelist and producer in film and sci-fi horror genre. But she basically writes her own comic books and turns them into movies. And then, of course, our very own Scott Grinwall will be there present. So he'll be talking and helping out with the paranormal auction. Jackie Carpenter, undecided if she's going to speak or not. I left it in her hands. She is going to be giving free readings at her booth, so that's something to keep in mind. Then I have two wonderful ladies from sci-fi show Ghost Hunters Academy. I have Vera Martinez and Rosamund Bowen coming. Then we have Bruce Tango from Sci-Fi Ghost Hunters also coming. Then we have another one which is not confirmed yet, but is pretty much well done deal. We have Dakota Lawrence coming. He is going to be doing private readings or group, like gallery type readings, in our hospitality room. But in order to go see him, it's going to cost a little bit. I think he's wanting $25 a person for that, but I think it'd be worth it. Then we have Stu Moss, our entertainment. He'll be playing all of our music, and in fact, that was the song you heard at the beginning of the show, and I'll also end with one of his songs. And then yours truly. I'll kick it off and basically be introducing everybody as they come up. So we got it's going to be a pretty good turnout, I think.
You got a full lineup going on.
Pretty much. So
that's good. And it's just one day?
One day. One very long day.
Sounds like it.
So, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
Well, Jesus, I want to say thank you for coming on tonight.
I had a great time, Dave. I mean, Dan, I'm sorry. I'm watching the chat room and I'm seeing all these names. Yeah.
Yes, I see that.
I had a great time, Dan. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's been great. I'll send you a copy of the show after we're done here if you want to stay on Skype for just a little bit. So, thank you guys that's in the chat room. I'm glad you all showed up tonight. It was nice having you all come in every week. Next week we have Sal coming in from I can't even think of the name. The Stanley. Sal will be coming in, so he'll be talking about the Shanley, and that should be a lot of fun there. It'll be a good show. We always have other guests that will pop in from time to time, so guys, please tune in. You'll like it. So, Jesus, you have a good night. If you have any quick shout-outs, now's the time to do it.
Well, I'd like to have a big shout-out to my second family, Scott, Jody, Johnny, Linda, Cash. I love those guys. And, of course, my wonderful girlfriend, Jody, from Texas. I love her. I love you, Jody.
I'll be seeing her in a couple of weeks personally on March 5th. I'll be heading down that way with my cadets. So.
Well, it was nice talking to you, Jesus.
It was nice talking to you guys. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, it's been a real treat having you. So, all right, we'll talk to you later, Jesus. Like I said, if you want to hang tight, just go ahead and put your mic on mute, and I'll give you a copy of the show here shortly.
All right, Dan, thanks.
All right, you have a good night.
Good night.
All right, you too, thanks.
So, Misty, how you doing after this nice, wonderful show?
I'm fine.
I've noticed you really picking it up there, and you're doing better, and people are getting to know you, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I just need to get comfortable. Thanks, everybody, for being patient.
At least this time you made it on time.
Yeah, I know. I'm blaming it on the internet waves. It wasn't my fault for the last time.
That's a good excuse. It's a good excuse.
Yeah.
So, I'll accept that.
Okay, thank you. And I'm glad you found another guest, because me talking for an hour, no, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, for you latecomers, what I had told her on the last show, just to punish her, I was going to give her a whole hour by herself, and she was going to have to talk and talk and talk and talk. So, almost did it, but I only gave her 8 minutes.
Thank you. 8 minutes was good.
Very entertaining 8 minutes. So.
Yeah.
Until next week, you guys, thank you for tuning in. Please listen to this last song from Stu Moss. He will be performing at Frontier Paracon, and in fact, I'm going to be helping him write some music for Frontier Paracon. So hopefully he won't put me on the spot, because I'm not a very good singer. I'll probably run everybody off, but I'll definitely help him with the lyrics. So, all right, Misty. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right. Good night, Dan.
All right. Good night, everybody in the chat room and out there. You're listening to Paraquest Radio Network. You have a good night and enjoy this wonderful song from Stu Miles called You Better Believe.